Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, it's going to be something a little bit different. I don't think I've done one of these videos before on my channel, but it's going to be a life update. I've been wanting to record this video for a while now, and I just haven't gotten to it. I've been super busy with the boys' schedules and soccer and practice and games and tournaments, and so since the season or the year is coming to an end, we all kind of have like a little break here and there. So this past weekend was pretty nice. We didn't have anything to do with soccer. Matthew did have a game Friday night, and I think that was it. I didn't have anything else going on. Jacob was supposed to have a game Saturday, but they ended up canceling, so that was pretty nice. We got to have all of Saturday to do things, and then Sunday we took them to a water park, which was so much fun. My kids have been begging to go to a water park since they saw that it opened, and we had a blast. I am burned. I don't think, pretty bad. But yeah, you guys, today's video is just going to be an update on some things that have been going on in my life with one of my boys. So for those of you that don't know, or that are new, or this is your first time clicking on one of my videos, my name is Erica. I am married. I have been married for 12 years. This year was 12 years. And we have 3 beautiful little boys, or 3 handsome little boys, however you want to say it. We have, our oldest is 11, and his name is Nathan. I'll post a picture here. And then we have Mathew. He just turned 9 in February. I'll post a picture here. And then we have our youngest, who is Jacob, and he will be 7 in August. So that's him. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. This video is pretty personal, but I just wanted to give an update as to why I haven't been vlogging much, or why I've been kind of MIA. Let me stop rambling and going on and on and on with things that this video is not about, and actually get to the story time update, whatever. If you are interested in what I have to say in my update, then keep on watching. If you don't, then I am sorry. You can go ahead and click out of this video. But first, if you are new to my channel and you are not yet subscribed, please don't forget to subscribe. Give it a thumbs up. Let's go ahead and get into this video. Okay, so where do I start? We have been dealing with some stuff that's going on with my second son, who is Matthew, the 9-year-old. He, a couple months ago, I think this is out of, like, it's crooked, but we're just gonna leave it. So Matthew, a couple months ago, I want to say towards the end of last year, started complaining of severe headaches, and I never really thought anything of it, just because I thought, you know, maybe a migraine, or he has really bad allergies, so I thought it could have been allergies. What else? I know he has, he gets sinus infections sometimes, which I didn't even know until the doctor mentioned that that's something from a while back that I had brought to her attention. But yeah, so towards the end of last year, he started complaining of really bad headaches, to the point where he would vomit. Sometimes he would get nosebleeds, but it wasn't, I don't think it had anything to do with the headaches. But they were so bad that if we were out somewhere, we would just leave, because he couldn't stand the pain. And then the most recent one that really caught my attention was a couple months ago. I want to say maybe 3 months ago, something like that. I could be wrong, but maybe 3 months ago. We had gone bowling, and he was fine. He was having a blast. He was bowling. He was on a roll. He was beating everyone. We had adults on one side and then kids right next to us, and they were having the best time. They were laughing and dancing, and it was awesome. Out of nowhere, I go to bowl, and then I come back, and he's sitting on the floor, and he's just grabbing his head, and he starts crying. And at that, well, since I was bowling, I wasn't really paying attention, and my niece was sitting with him, and she's like, he just started complaining that his head is hurting, and he has this really sharp pain, and you know, everything's bothering him. The light was bothering him. The music in there was bothering him. So he was just sitting on the floor, and he was just grabbing his head, and he was crying. And that's really all it was. But just watching him on the floor like that, the way he was crying, you know, it's what really got to me. So I think we had like a couple minutes left to bowl, and we just decided to leave. So we're taking him out, and he decides that he wants to go with my sister. And of course, not knowing yet anything, I let him go, and they were just going to give him some Tylenol when they got home, and, you know, have him rest. And usually with the other headaches that he would get, that's really all we could do. I'd give him Tylenol, he'd lay down, either take a nap or something like that, and then a couple hours later he's fine. So I think this might have been in January. Yeah, because then in February he had a physical when he turned 9, and that's when I brought it to the doctor's attention. He goes with my sister, and we're in our car, and we're all just, you know, driving, and my phone rings, and it's my sister, and she's like, I had to pull over, Matthew's throwing up in the back seat. And I'm like, oh, one, she has a new car, and I didn't even know. And like at the time when she's on the phone with me, I can just hear like all the commotion in the back seat with my nieces and him, and for instance, my sister was like, grab something, he's throwing up on the seat, and it like my nieces are like, hold him, and you could just hear all these things going on in the background. And so I meet her at the gas station where she got off, and Gio goes inside to buy cleaning product, or like the only cleaning product he could find, and some napkins that we pulled from like the gas station, you know, like where the pumps are at. And so I go, and he threw up all in my niece's hands, because my niece could only think about, you know, putting something that he could throw up in that wouldn't mess up the car. So he threw up all in her hands, and on her legs, and on my sister's seat, and I think even on her mat, like the mat on the floor. And they're not like the plastic mats. This was just like the carpeted mat, or the carpet mat. So it was a lot. So I'm grabbing Matthew, and we're kind of cleaning him off, and then Gio's cleaning my sister's car and like scrubbing and stuff. So long story short, we get the car cleaned up as much as we could, and then he ends up coming home with us, and my sister goes home, and, you know, we get home, give him Tylenol, and he goes to bed. And I think that night I even slept him with us, just so that I could like watch him and make sure that he wasn't like throwing up in his sleep or anything like that, or that the pain was actually going away and he wasn't uncomfortable. So I think that night he slept with us in the room, and then the next morning he was fine. No headache, no nausea, no nothing. He was fine. He was his normal self. So then I scheduled him an appointment for a physical, not thinking anything of the headaches, because I'm thinking, oh, it's a migraine, which also makes me feel like complete crap, because I think I should have paid more attention as his mom that this was going on so often. So we continue day to day. His appointment finally gets here, and the physical's already almost done, and then she asked if I have any questions. So I just mentioned, yeah, I have, I'm curious to know what could cause headaches. Like, do you think it could be his allergies? you know, blah, 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 or whatever. We started talking back and forth about it, and she's like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and schedule an MRI. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, she's like, I'm not worried about anything. It's just, you know, with the headaches, I just want to make sure that there isn't anything else going on before I can say, you know, yeah, I think it might be migraines, or yeah, I think it might be his allergies. She's like, so once she obviously like, we'll get the referral coordinator to call you, and you know, you guys can figure out where you're going to go to get the MRI and things or whatever. So she ends up ordering an MRI of his brain. And I remember leaving the appointment. Matthew has no idea what's going on. He doesn't know what an MRI is, so he didn't even ask questions. He just got in the car, we left, you know, whatever. So I called Gio, and I just mentioned to him, you know, the doctor's ordering an MRI. She's not worried. She said that there's nothing for us to worry about. It's just, you know, a precaution that they take just to make sure that it isn't anything else before they can actually diagnose him with like migraines or whatever. We get him the MRI scheduled, and I scheduled it for a Monday, like at 9 p.m. I think they closed at 10, and I didn't want him to have to miss school. So we go, we check in, we do the MRI, and it is loud in there. If anyone has gotten it done, it is loud. And then if anyone is claustrophobic, I understand why they don't like doing these kinds of exams, because it is such a small hole that you're in. And then, so they explain to us what they're going to do. They tell Matthew that he can't move. He has to stay as still as he can, because it can mess up the image and how it looks. Like it'll come out looking blurry, I guess, if he moves. So I was able to be in there with him as they were doing the MRI. Gio was able to wait in the second waiting room, like down the hall from where we were. So he waited for us. I was in there with Matthew. The most I could do for him was to kind of rub his hand, like his hand, since he was laying like this, I was able to just kind of like rub on his hand and, you know, just make him feel a little more comfortable, because he was nervous because he had never had an exam like this done. So the MRI lasted about 45 minutes, and then once he was done, the technician came and asked him if he wanted to see what his brain looked like, and he kind of just showed him, you know, what his eyeballs, or like what his eyes looked like through the MRI, and what the brain looked like. So that was interesting for Matthew, and it made him calm down a little bit, because again, he was nervous. And they told us the doctor should get the results within 2 to 3 business days. This was on a Monday. So I was hoping, you know, having worked in the medical field, I know that they do take 2 to 3 days to get the results. And then on top of however long it takes the doctor to review them and, you know, decide if they want to schedule to come, if they want to schedule for you guys to come in and review the results, or if they call you over the phone. Since the test was Monday, I knew that Wednesday maybe they would get the results, but I didn't want to call Wednesday. I said, you know what, I'll give them till Thursday and see if they call. I waited till Thursday, and then I called them on Thursday and asked if the doctor had reviewed it, if she was going to call me to let me know what the results were. And all they said was she just received the results. She's going to review them and she'll give you a call. So I was like, okay. That was Thursday. Then Friday comes along, and I think I waited till like 3 to call, and they close at 5, I think. Yeah, I think I called at 3, and same thing. I asked, you know, I called yesterday, and I just wanted to see if I could get the results before the weekend. You know, I just want to know if there's anything I need to worry about, you know, and not have to go the whole weekend with all these things running in my head of what I think it could be and the possibilities, and, you know, just probably anxiety of not knowing. And, you know, as a mom, you worry and you start thinking all these different things and the worst. And I mean, not that I was thinking the worst, but, you know, as a mom, that's just what we do. Friday, 5 o'clock came around, no call. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I have to wait till Monday. And I had a tournament with Nathan that weekend, and I was just like, okay, so I hope the tournament just keeps my mind off of it until Monday, and I'll call her back Monday early in the morning, and you know, all these things. So it stayed like that. And then Saturday morning, Friday we ended up staying at my sister's, and Saturday morning I get a call, and it's the doctor. She's like, I reviewed the results and there is no tumor. There isn't anything that worries us that it could be, you know, something that dangerous, like cancer, tumor, you know, whatever the case might be. She's like, there wasn't anything like that. She's like, so that's good. And then I was like, oh, okay. So, you know, my heart was just kind of like, oh, good, I can calm down. Then I heard the words, but. And I'm like, oh my God. So we're laying down, and it's Gio and I, and then it's the boys around us. Like we were already kind of awake, and the boys were just playing and jumping on us and trying to tickle Gio, and you know. So I hear the words but, and I just like remember tapping Gio, and I'm like, and then she's like, it did show up that there is something wrong with the back of his head. So back here in the back, like by his brainstem. And she's like, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna refer him to see a neurosurgeon. You guys, I don't think you guys can imagine how I felt in that moment when, you know, you hear the word neurosurgeon and you're like, what the hell? Like, my son might need brain surgery, and that's a scary surgery, you know? So I'm holding back my tears because Matthew's in the room and he has no idea what's going on. And Gio's like, what? Like, tell me, like, what is she saying? I'm just like, hold on, like, let me get all this information that she's giving me. And I think past the word neurosurgeon, I wasn't really paying attention anymore. Like, I just didn't care about anything else that was said. That was all that was just playing in the back of my head, just that one word, you know. So she said that he had, so I think everyone has an opening in the back of their head, if I'm not mistaken. We all do, where the brainstem kind of runs through. And so his, I believe, is larger, and because it's larger, it's causing his cerebellum to fall out of the hole. So we all have our brain, and then we have our cerebellum in the back, and then like our brainstem and stuff like that. So his cerebellum is bulging out of the hole, and it's putting pressure on his brainstem. What that is called is Chiari malformation, and I'll write that here so that you guys can understand or read what I'm saying. There are different types, like different levels of Chiari malformation. Obviously there's some that are worse than others, but yeah, so she's just explaining all of that, and she hadn't given me the name yet. Like, she didn't say, oh, he has Chiari malformation. She just kind of explained, like, it's coming out from the back of his skull and putting pressure on his brainstem, and she said that's what could be causing his headaches. She's like, please do not go Google, because Google will show you the worst of every situation. She's like, I'll send you through his patient portal some information on what that is. She was like, yes, you know, you're going to see some pretty serious things. Like, you're going to read pretty serious things. She's like, but don't go off of that until you speak to the neurosurgeon. We're going back and forth or whatever with information, and we hang up, and I told the boys, go play in the living room. And I just started crying, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, what am I gonna tell Matthew? Like, what am I gonna do if my son needs brain surgery? And it's just scary. To think that that's a possibility. Although I hadn't, like, we hadn't seen the neurosurgeon yet. Again, you know, as a parent, you're worried. As a parent, no one ever wants their kids to go through what Matthew's going through. I don't, I'm like lost already. My mascara is probably all over the place. I'm just gonna use my sweater. As a parent, I don't think anyone wants their kids to go through anything, let alone, you know, possibly need brain surgery or all the symptoms that come along with Chiari malformation. And I'm not saying that there isn't people in the world that have it worse than we do, because I know that's life, you know, and I'm not taking that away from anyone. But for me, this is bad. For me, this is hard. And so yeah, so Nathan still had his games that day, and I think I would have rather gone through the weekend without knowing, because tournaments, if anyone's kids play a sport and have tournaments, you know that it's game after game. And that day was just, my head wasn't in it. It was just constant. I spent all day on the website that she sent me. I spent all day on Google, which I know I shouldn't have been on Google. We didn't really get to process that day because we had our kids with us, and you know, we had to put on a straight face. And I just remember crying every chance I got with Gio and I, because you know, we were together with the boys. And I'm not even over exaggerating when I say that in between each game, as we were driving to like go get something to eat or go pump gas, that time that me and Gio got in the front seat, we spent crying, because my kids couldn't see us from the back seat. The only one that really knew what was going on was Nathan, because he was older, and I explained it to him, not in like full detail, but he knew, you know, he had that going on in the back. But he didn't know at that time about like needing to see the specialist, the neurosurgeon. And we called our parents and we explained to them what the results were, that we didn't know much after that. It's also, I mean, I know my mom is there, but it's also hard when you can't vent to someone, because like, I'm not gonna call and rant to my mom about, you know, all these feelings that I'm feeling, all these things that I'm worried about. And you know, because I don't want to worry my mom like that. And so yeah, so that's what our Saturday was like. My camera turned off and I have no idea where I was. I had to put it to charge for a little bit, so I went and started dinner. But where was I? So then we got those results. We were like that all day Saturday. And you know, each day goes by and it doesn't make it easier, but I think we were just, at this point, we're kind of like, we're just gonna wait and see exactly what the neurosurgeon tells us. Maybe it's not as bad as we think it is. Maybe it's not what they think it is. Like, we're still hoping that maybe this was wrong. And so we finally got the appointment with the neurosurgeon scheduled, and it was over at Children's Hospital here in Dallas, Texas. We had to wait, I think 3 weeks. No, like 4 or 5 weeks for that appointment. Something like that. So our appointment was June 7th. Yeah, June 7th was his appointment with the neurosurgeon. Gio took the day off, and my nieces took care of the other boys. So they called us back, and we waited in the room for a while. I'll insert some clips here of the appointment. And yeah, so he came in, he introduced himself, and I want to say that at this point Mathew already knew what he had, because we also had a follow-up from his physical, and his pediatrician asked me if he knew what was going on, and I told her no, and she went over it with him so that he could kind of understand what was going on. So by the time we got to the neurosurgeon, he knew what he knew what he had, or what he has, and it was easier for him to understand. So the neurosurgeon just kind of went over it with him, and then they did a neurological exam on him there. At the end, he showed Gio and I the actual MRI, like the digital one, and he showed us where he has the Chiari malformation, and then they also go like by how many millimeters it's out of the skull. And I want to say 1 through 5 is what they consider normal, and Mathews is at an 8.5. Yeah, so it's 8.5 millimeters out of his skull. But once he went through all of that, and we talked to him, and he started asking Mathew about his symptoms and his headaches and where the pain was, he did mention to us that he doesn't believe that the headaches Mathew is getting is associated with the Chiari malformation, because the way Mathew explains his headaches isn't what patients with Chiari malformation explain their headaches to be, if that makes any sense. I think Mathew is saying his headache isn't in a general area. He just kind of says like this, and the doctor says that the headaches are more towards the base of the head, like where the skull's at. The symptoms he's showing now are not from his Chiari malformation, so we generally just found out about his Chiari malformation because of the headaches and because they scheduled an MRI, not because those are his symptoms, if I'm explaining correctly. What he did say was, due to the small amount of space that he has in the back because of the bulging out and like it's putting pressure on his spinal cord, it can cause fluid to build up around his spine, which then that will cause a whole other set of symptoms. So from his Chiari malformation, we're kind of good on that side as far as not needing surgery because of the Chiari malformation. But he did order another MRI of his spine, because if there is fluid buildup in his spine or around his spinal cord, then he will need surgery. And I hope I'm explaining this correctly and that you guys are understanding what I'm saying. So we left that appointment a little relieved at the fact that the Chiari malformation isn't what's causing him to have these symptoms, which now it just sends us back to the beginning, because now we got to figure out what is causing these severe headaches, which I think they're going to end up sending him to a different doctor to see what's causing it. I don't know, you guys, it's a lot. We already had his second MRI done. We had it done on Friday. What was Friday's date? The 25th. It was my niece's birthday. We had to be at the hospital at 6:30 in the morning. We left here at 5:45 from my house, and it was just me and Mathew. Gio wanted to take the day off, but I mean, it's not like we're gonna get the results then, and Mathew was already kind of familiar with an MRI, and it was only gonna be able to be one of us in the back with them. So there was no point in him taking the day off. They did say it would take 2 business days for the doctor to get the results. Again, it could be a little bit longer. One thing the neurosurgeon did say was if he doesn't have fluid around his spine, then he's clear, and we'll just have to do follow-up MRIs every so often. Like, I don't know if he's gonna end up saying like every 6 months Mathew has to go in for MRIs to see if it's if not improving, because you can't, there is no cure for it. All right, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and finish really quickly because I don't know what's going on with my camera, that it's not holding the charge, and I've had to charge it already twice in this video, so it's getting kind of frustrating. But where did I leave off? I think I wrote it down. Oh yeah, so if this next MRI comes back that he doesn't have fluid in his spine, then they'll just monitor him with MRIs every so often, I guess depending when the surgeon thinks they're required. I don't know if it'll be every 6 months or yearly, and we'll just keep doing that until something changes, or unless symptoms start, or unless he starts showing more symptoms that have to do with Chiari malformation. As of right now, the headaches are not from that. I think I looked it up. Let me see if I can find what the symptoms are. So some symptoms of Chiari malformation are headache, neck pain, which Mathew does get neck pain, hearing or balance problems, muscle weakness or numbness, dizziness, difficulty swallowing or speaking, vomiting, ringing or buzzing in the ears, insomnia, depression, problems with hand coordination or fine motor skills, difficulty swallowing, excessive drooling, gagging or vomiting, breathing problems, difficulty eating, and inability to gain weight. So it's a lot, and I think that's also why I'm just constantly thinking about it, because these are pretty bad. I mean, like, difficulty speaking, like, in my head I'm like, is it gonna get to that point, you know? Like, I don't know. I think because I have anxiety and I just start thinking about the worst. What else is on here? Problems with hand coordination or fine motor skills. Like, that's something that you use on a daily. So with this new diagnosis that he has, is it gonna affect him when he's older? Like, I was watching YouTube videos where people they're on disability when they're older because they can't even work with the symptoms that they have and how severe they are. There's people, again, that have Chiari malformation and have no symptoms throughout their whole life. I'm hoping and begging that that's the case for Mathew, that he doesn't ever show any symptoms. But again, I mean, you also have to think of the possibility, and that, I think that's what's scary for me. And yeah, so I mean, there isn't really much we can do now besides wait for those results to the MRI of his spine. Today's Monday again, so hopefully he'll have them by tomorrow. Hopefully I can get a call before the end of the week to see what our next step is, and I'll keep you guys informed. That is all I have for you today. My camera's running out of battery again, and I had just charged it when I started this clip. Mathew was diagnosed with Chiari malformation, and as of right now, we're just waiting to see what's gonna happen. So once I get those results, or if I know a little bit more, then I'll come back on here and update you guys again. But for now, that's it. That's all I have. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you stuck around to the end, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to keep up with the updates on Mathew. We'll see you guys in the next one with a little more information as to what's gonna happen, whether he needs surgery or not. Yeah. Thanks, guys.